Horrid by Katrina?
Mm-hmm.
Katrina,
bitch.
like the hurricane?
Katrina,
Okay.
yes. Hey guys!
Hey, so it's already mid-November, but we did want to kind of go over what we read in October because we read some really good books. We read a few of the same ones, but for the most part they were different. So we wanted to kind of just make a quick video explaining what we read and our thoughts on it.
Okay, so the first book that I read in October was the first book of the Off-Campus series, which is The Deal by Elle Kennedy. This is a book about a girl named Hannah. She agrees to tutor the bad boy in exchange for a faked date that she hopes will get the attention of the boy she really likes. I now completely understand the hype of Elle Kennedy. This was one of my favorite college romances so far. This book had a really good mix of funny moments but also serious moments. After I read this book, I went and bought the rest of the series.
I also read this book this month and I really enjoyed it. It was my first Elle Kennedy book as well, and I really did appreciate the way she wrote the characters. I really enjoyed the communication that they had with each other. A lot of times you read like romances and there's always some miscommunication, situations that could be easily avoided, and this was just the perfect example of like a healthy relationship, good communication. So I really do love it for that. I am excited to read the rest of the roommates. So the second book I read in October was The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This was a really, really great book. It's basically about a man who lives a quiet, solitary life. He works for the department in charge of magical youth, and he basically just spends his day-to-day overseeing the well-being of all these children in these government-sanctioned orphanages. And then one day his life changes when he gets an unexpected, highly classified assignment to go to this magical island. There's so many amazing characters that you learn to love, and it's just really, really beautiful. It's a fun, easy, lighthearted read, so I would recommend it if you're looking for something just to put you in a good mood.
This is the next book I read. It is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. It is about 4 high school students who walk into detention and only 4 come out alive. Everyone is a suspect and everyone has something that they are hiding. This was literally Breakfast Club meets Pretty Little Liars. Every chapter revealed something new, so I kept thinking I knew how it was going to end, but I was actually way off. I do kind of wish that it ended a little differently, but it's fine. We're excited to watch the Peacock show.
Yeah, we originally picked this up because we knew the show was coming out. I really enjoyed it as well. We're interested to see how the adaptation is going to be on Peacock. So the next one I read, we actually both read this month, and it's Verity by Colleen Hoover. This is about a writer named Lowen who is on the brink of financial ruin. A husband of a best-selling author hires her to complete a series that his wife is unable to complete. So as Lowen is looking for material and is trying to prepare to write the new books, she uncovers something that should have definitely remained hidden. This was hands down one of the best thrillers that I've read so far. It had me feeling all different kinds of emotions, from sympathy to anger to relief to horrified. I went through it all. The scenes were very vivid, and I think that really adds to the experience of this book. I sat down and read this in one sitting. I had to know what was going to happen next. I would check trigger warnings for this though, because there were some disturbing scenes, but if you're looking for a thriller, I would highly recommend this. Absolutely amazing.
I thought it was brilliantly dark and disturbing and unique. Colleen just left me shocked, but that's what she does best. I mean, she is going to shock you.
If you read Layla as well, I think they're kind of similar.
Yeah, that's how I felt about Layla too.
Yeah, anytime she steps out of her comfort zone, she gives us what we need.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed this one. I've yet to read a book by her that I didn't love, so highly recommend.
Okay, so my next one was Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone. This is about a girl named Samantha who is one of the most popular girls in her high school, and she suffers from OCD. She tries to keep this away from her friends, and she ends up making a new friend who really understands her and shows her something that is going to change her life. This was definitely one of my favorite YA so far. It was so beautiful and a really touching story. I loved the writing, and there were so many really good quotes in it, and I also felt like I could easily picture like everything that she was saying. There was a huge twist in the end that I did not see coming, and it left me crying. I think I was like crying for the last 50 pages.
Really?
Yes, it was so sad.
It was a really good book. This was one of the ones I read at the beginning of my reading journey, and it did blow my mind. I was not expecting the ending. It was very well written.
This is a really easy book to read, so if you're in a reading slump or you want to start reading, I definitely recommend this one right here.
So the next book I read in October was The Silent Patient. This was a psychological thriller about a woman's act of violence against her husband and the therapist obsessed with uncovering her motive. This is a great mystery book that keeps you guessing, and I was not expecting the ending to be what it was. This did have a lot of amazing quotes. I caught myself annotating like the whole beginning. I do recommend this if you're kind of into psychological thrillers.
The next book I read was The Mistake by Elle Kennedy, which is the second book in the Off-Campus series. This book is about John Logan, who is a star hockey player. John Logan doesn't have the best home life, but he meets a girl named Grace, and Grace is a freshman in college. They form a relationship, and John Logan makes a mistake, and he kind of spins the book trying to make sure she's not the one that got away. I really didn't enjoy the specific mistake that he made in this book. I really did love Logan and Grace's relationship though, and I was really invested in Logan's family problems and how he was going to overcome that. And it had a really good ending, so I'm excited for you to read this one.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to know the rest of the roommates. So the next book I read in October was Horrified by Katrina Leno. This is a YA contemporary horror that deals with mental illness, rage, grief, but also incorporates these moments of spine-chilling scenes, so that's really cool. The plot is about a girl and her mother. Following the death of her father, they end up moving across the country into her mother's childhood home. This house does have a history, and so certain things start happening that they can't really explain, and a lot of the time you're trying to figure out what's actually happening. Is it imagination? Is it grief? Is it something more? So I really did enjoy this book. I went into this book not knowing it was YA, so I did have kind of high expectations for it, but that's my own fault for not knowing. I did think it was really good though. If you're looking to get into horror, I feel like it's a good place to start.
My favorite book of the month was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is a story about a girl named Pippa who turns her class project into finding the truth about a murder case that has been closed and solved for a really long time. Pippa begins to uncover secrets that someone in the town desperately wants to stay hidden. I really enjoyed this book. I read it in one day. I really liked the way she wrote this and how she included first person and third person and so many different interviews. Every chapter had something new revealed that had me absolutely hooked on this book. I thought it had a really good ending.
Yeah, this was a really good book. Honestly, I know that One of Us is Lying was really big for YA mystery thrillers, but I honestly thought this one needs more hype because this gave me everything that I wanted from One of Us is Lying. They are both really good, but this one just kept me on my toes. This one had the ending that was worth the whole book. Like she said, anytime new information was revealed, it led me one way, then it led me a different way, so I really enjoyed this book.
Yeah, I was not mad at this ending at all like I was with One of Us is Lying.
So the book I read next was The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. A mouthful, but this book was very good. It's a supernatural thriller that's set in the 90s about a women's book club that has to protect its suburban community from a mysterious and handsome stranger. This did kind of remind me of a mix between Desperate Housewives and Edward Scissorhands. It's about the housewives and their friendships and bonds with each other. It wasn't action-packed, but stuff does go down at the end, so I do like it for that. The writing was very different though. Like I almost had a hard time because it was so wordy, but it was overall worth it. So I would recommend this for a spooky horror read.
So my next read was The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This is a thriller about a young power couple who is having the wedding of the year, and it is being held at a small, mysterious island. Everyone has a motive and someone will not be leaving this wedding alive. I thought this had a really slow beginning and there was too many point of views for my liking, but towards the end when stuff started to unravel, I was really hooked and it made the beginning half of the book worth it.
The next book we both read was The XText by Erin Sterling. This is about a girl named Vivi who goes through a hard breakup. After the heartbreak, she jokingly curses him and goes on with her life thinking nothing of it.
9 years later, he returns back to town and it seems like this joke of a curse might have actually worked.
This was a really fun and charming read. It really does set the tone for October and gets you in the mood for spooky season. The tone of this was really light and funny, even when incorporating like the darker scenes, but I do think overall it was a pretty good read and perfect for Halloween.
I loved that there was like so many different tropes in this kind of romance. I thought it was uniquely done and just a really fun read.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lauren walked away because she wants to read this book next and she wants to go into it without knowing a single thing about it, but this is my next and last book for the month. This is Confess by Colleen Hoover. It is about a girl named Auburn who wants to rebuild her shattered life. Auburn finds herself falling in love with a boy named Owen Gentry, who is an artist, but we find out that Owen is hiding a huge secret and his past just might threaten everything that Auburn is trying to rebuild. I thought this was another masterpiece by Miss Colleen Hoover, heart-wrenching, and just like all her other books, it left me crying. It was a really great love story, and the ending was one that I just was not expecting.
I'm planning on reading Confess this month, and I do like to go into books like pretty much completely blind, so I didn't want to hear what she had to say, but I am excited to read this book. So the last book I read this month was Bunny by Mona Awad. This is a contemporary horror, but honestly I feel like it could fit into a lot of different genres as well. When I say this book is completely insane, I mean it. This was the most bizarre story. There's honestly not too much I can say about this book, and if you've read it, you do know why, but I actually went into this blindly, which I would recommend doing if you're interested in this book, because I think it adds to the overall experience. This main character has a very dark, vivid imagination, so a lot of the time you're not really certain what's actually happening and what's just happening in her head. I think it was very interesting. It was the most unique story I've ever read, but it is a strange one, I have to say. I still don't completely know how I feel about it, but a solid read.
Okay, so this completes our October wrap-up. I hope you liked the video. Let us know if you've read any of these books down below.
Don't forget to follow and subscribe if you're new. We're new to the channel, so we really appreciate any support we can get. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, thank you. Michaelitis.
Michaelitis? Michaelitis? I don't know. Fuck. Okay, we'll just fucking Michael.